Political commentator, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, what's your analysis on all of this that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, and including the fact that Ukraine is supposed to be visiting Turkey for the talks for peace, but Russia is not present on the table?
Asuma, good to be with you. It's a shame that Russia aren't at that table, because we need this discussion to move forward to end this war period. We remember, of course, in February 2022, the Russians then invaded a sovereign country. So let's just put that on the table. But according to reports, there's a comment in the BBC that the reason why this attack has then happened in the ferocity that it has done so is that according to reports, the Ukrainians then announced that it actually used American missile technology, I think the ATACMS missiles, towards Russia. Now, I need to read more reports on this, and we need more and more verification on this. And of course, as we have to remember, the Russian propaganda machine is extremely extensive. But this is why they have then sent in to the report, as you've just talked about, 470 drones, 47 missiles, and then the destruction, then according to reports, of tower blocks and the appalling loss of life, including the attacks against the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. Asuma, you and I could just be here going round and round the houses saying, we need this to end, we need this to end, which we do.
Yes.
And there needs far more. We remember under the Biden regime, 4 years of not wanting to bash heads together, people stopping the fact that it looks as though was there a peace deal on the table immediately after a few weeks of the Russian invasion, and that didn't go anywhere. So we're back at this constant stalemate, tit for tat, and the awful destruction and the awful loss of life. And as we hold in context again as well, Russia have taken 20% of land. Are they willing to then give that up? I think the answer is no, but we need the people around the table. Is President Trump, who's diverted with issues in the Middle East, will he now pick up the phone again and say, Vladimir, we need to sort this out and we need to have this discussion, particularly as, in my own humble opinion, that militarily, if certain technology is then going into the theatre of war in regard to these missiles, this all needs to be looked at, because this needs to be stopped, because it can only go one way, which is more death and destruction. But does that benefit particular people that make a lot of money out of war, and then it solves in their own minds some globalist stupidity? I've said it, we'll just put that on the table as well. Asuma.
Yes, and Mark, so what do you think, how effective are all these countries talking, including us, talking about that we should stop the war, especially now that we know Zelenskyy and Erdogan will talk? And what are we to make of whatever comes out of this? Will it be effective towards Russia?
Asuma, again, you asked the most important question, as I have. And as these countries are doing, we want it to stop. But are they actually going to go through this layer by layer by layer, in fact, to actually to do that? We've constantly asked this. We reflect back on the last few years. We reflect back on since 2022. There seems to be, we're not concluding this at all. We look at the loss of life on the Ukrainian side, and the destruction. Yes, at times there's no doubt about it. They are holding the line, and NATO is having to then step up. We're then seeing their reports, of drones suddenly flying into areas like Romania, Moldova. We've seen, Russian jets have then gone into the air because they're then concerned about drone attacks and what's happening in their airspace, along with Poland and other European countries. My prayer is that constantly people will pick up the phone and go, we need to get everyone around the table and this needs to stop. But the Russians are continuing that, because the other thing is, if there then is going to be a genuine negotiation of peace and ending this war, then of course Russia is turning around saying we want to get to certain lines, because these are the demarcation lines to us. And we look at Crimea, we look at the Donbass, Donetsk area, and turn around and go, no, we're not giving up this land. This is what we want. We want this. This buffer zone. I think,
Yes.
without sounding too obvious, in many ways the situation is far more complex than maybe people want to own up for and to deal with. We look in the past when there was very good relationships with Vladimir Putin, with the president of Russia, when there was good relationships with Russia. I think we have to look back and see how far south that has gone in a very, very quick time. Go back to 1994 when Clinton negotiated Ukraine, giving up weapons. We will defend you. We then go back to the Minsk agreements as well. We then have to have that honest discussion about NATO expansion, even if we look in history where
Yes.
Gorbachev was, that wasn't even on the table.
Yes.
Final point,
Yeah.
we have to look at the whole of history to see why we are at this point. Asuma.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mark, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay in the region. Poland has temporarily closed the